Om Tavakatamritam Taptajivanam Kavibiriditam Kalmashapam Shravanamangalam Shrimadatatam Bhuvinirnantiye Burita Janaha. The nectar of your words, the praise of poet seers, elixir to parched souls, delight to listening ears, cleanser of all sins is great and glorious. They who spread it far and wide on earth are most generous. Om, peace, peace, peace. Good evening, friends. We will be continuing with our study of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, and we are on chapter 8. Those that are following along in the book is page 181. So it is Sunday, February 18th, 1883. Sri Ramakrishna arrived at Govinda Mukherjee's house in Bulgaria, near Calcutta. Back in those days, Bulgaria would be like a suburb or like a small town outside of Calcutta. But nowadays, it's absorbed within Calcutta. Calcutta's grown that large and includes many what were small villages in those days. So besides Narendra, Ram, and other devotees, some of Govinda's neighbors were present. The master first sang and danced with the devotees, and after the kirtan, they sat down. Many saluted the master. Now and then he would say, "Bow before God." So he's reminding people, it was customary that people would bow before a holy man out of reverence. Sometimes he would identify himself as a human being. He would not speak this way, but when he's identified with God, he might remind them that one should bow in front of a holy man. So he says, "It is God alone," he said, "who has become all this. But in certain places, for instance, in a holy man, there is a greater manifestation than in others. So, just as there are many degrees of holy men or of holy places, it's often believed that God is more manifest in a place of worship, like a temple, not as much as in a shopping mall. So also, in ordinary human beings, God is not as manifested in divinity as in a saint or an incarnation of God. So he's saying that one should show respect to one that has who has lived a life or is devoted to, who is identified with God. In this case, Sri Ramakrishna, regarded as an incarnation of God, that one should salute him or salute God, looking on that incarnation or that holy man as a manifestation of God. You're not saluting that person as a man, you're saluting God. You're acknowledging the divinity of God within all beings, but more manifested in a human being. But it's not uncommon in India for children to salute their parents, looking on parents as manifestations of God, as the mother of God, as the father, as God as the mother or God as a father, but in the human manifestation of, in the form of their personal mother, their personal father. In fact, to all elders, anyone who shows more wisdom than they as a child should be shown that kind of respect and saluted. So He says that it is God alone, he said, who has become all this. So yes, God is present everywhere, but is more manifest in a human being, in a divine incarnation or a saint. So, and then he says, and there is a greater but in certain places, for instance, in a holy man or in a holy place, there is a greater manifestation than in others. You may say that there are wicked men also. That is true, even as there are tigers and lions. But one need not hug the tiger god. One should keep away from him and salute him from a distance. So yes, the scriptures say that God is everywhere, that we should salute the divinity in all beings. But how close should we get to a person that is about to harm us? Should we show them the same respect and dignity as we would to, say, a holy man? So we have to be careful and also alert as to dangers. So yes, God is present everywhere. We will salute God as being present everywhere. But we will choose to be closer to those that are divine, that show divine attributes, not to someone that is out there to harm us. Even though God is present there, but is not manifested to the same degree as a holy man or divine incarnation. So one should keep away from him and salute him from a distance. Take water, for instance. Some water may be drunk, some may be used for worship, some for bathing, and some only for washing dishes. So yes, water is common in all these instances. Some water is fit to be drunk, that will sustain us. Water that's sewer water, that would not be good for us. There may be what's called gray water, that may not be suitable for us either, but is suitable for doing washing and cleaning and so forth. So also there are human beings that we should approach with salute, with dignity, with humility, divine incarnation. But then there are others that are filthy that we should not be, better not to associate with. So we have to be aware and be, that is part of our discriminating between what is good and what is bad, what is good for our spiritual life and what is not, what can harm us, what would be beneficial. So now one of Govinda's neighbors is asking Sri Ramakrishna, he says, "Revered Sir, what are the doctrines of Vedanta?" Usually when someone asks a philosophical question like that, they are not necessarily sincere spiritual seekers. They just want to engage in conversation, sometimes in such a manner to then argue afterwards and try to prove that your knowledge is more superior or deeper than the person you're asking this question to. So they are now asking a philosophical question. They may have their own idea what the answer is, but they want to hear what Sri Ramakrishna is going to say. So, revered Sir, what are the doctrines of Vedanta? The Master is replying, he says, the Vedantist says, I am he. Brahman is real and the world is illusory. So this requires some explanation. A Vedantist understands this meaning, I am he, also can be read as I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. That is one of the Mahavakyas, or what they call the great sentences it's a quote from the Upanishads, in particular from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, that forms a basis of some of the core doctrines within Vedanta. But this I is often misinterpreted. So here he says, the Vedanta says, I am he. Brahman alone is real and the world illusory. Even the I is illusory. The I is in quotes. This I is not the same I when he's saying, when a Vedanta says, I am he, or I am Brahman. So he says, even this I is illusory. This I, in quotes, is referring to the I that believes I am so-and-so. I am this, I am that, I am important, I do this, I do that, I like this, I like that. It's this I that we identify with, this I that we call the ego. This I is constantly changing. And Sri Ramakrishna would refer to this as the unripe I. And this is not the I that's referred to when a Vedantin says, I am Brahman. A Vedantin that says, I am Brahman, is also not as body conscious as a person that says, as the person, the I in quotes, when he thinks he is so-and-so. He is body conscious, he is aware of everything in this world, and he wants to acquire things in this world. So, but Sri Ramakrishna says that even this I in quotes is illusory. So what is he meaning here? On one hand, he is saying, Brahman is real and the world is illusory. But the word illusory here is not quite, what he's really trying to say is that Brahman alone is real, the world is unreal. There's a difference between what the word unreal means and what illusory means. Illusory will refer to something that cannot possibly have any existence. Sometimes you can say like the horns of a rabbit. Well, will a rabbit with horns ever exist? Maybe through genetic engineering, but on its own, it cannot ever be, it could never exist as an entity, as a creature. So you would say, if a magician creates an illusion, he pulls out of a hat a rabbit with horns. Well, that would be an illusion, because there is no such thing as a rabbit with horns. It might be a real rabbit with horns attached to it, but as a rabbit with horns cannot exist as an independent creature. As opposed to something that is unreal, I will explain later through an analogy what the difference between what is real and what is unreal. Something that is unreal can appear, something is unreal if it appears to be other than what it really is. Something is unreal if it appears to be something than it really is. That's different from being an illusion. So this I that we refer to, the I that's in quotes, we still use the word I, but we also use it, a Vedantin or a Vedantist will say, I am he, I am Brahman. That I, that is where the I that I am Brahman, that refers to the real I, that I that identifies that I with Brahman, and then the I in quotes is the unreal I. So Vedanta says, I am Brahman, means that I have no existence apart from Brahman. So when he says, I am Brahman, he means I have no existence apart from Brahman. That means I cannot exist independent of God. But this I that we have identified with is somehow a manifestation of our imaginary identity superimposed on Brahman. So what do I mean by that? So since this I that we associated with is so interconnected with this world, it is subject to change, just as the world is subject to change, subject to time, subject to changes in, by time, space, and causation. What we were as a child, we identified ourselves as a child. I am Jimmy. I am a kindergarten. I go to kindergarten. As a teenager, I am so-and-so. I am going to university. You identify with that. I am now getting a job. I'm now retired. All these I's I've identified with, these I's have changed over time. My location has changed. I could be moving anywhere in the world. The cause of all my changes are there. So I have been subject to changes due to time, space, causation. Brahman itself is unchangeable. There's no place. It is absolute time. It doesn't change over time. It's always there. There's no place for it to go where it can change. And it's not changed by any causes because all that is within Brahman, within God. So it cannot have, God is what we would call, what we experience, we call relative existence. Is always changing, is relative from where we are at different points of time, space, and causation. God has, or Brahman has, absolute existence. So somehow we have identified, somehow this I-ness that we identify with has become somewhere, it's like been superimposed. This identity, this I identity has been superimposed on Brahman. So there is an analogy that's used to somehow describe this. The analogy has to do with the difference of how a rope appears to be a snake. Due to optical illusion or low light, we might suddenly be shocked, we see a snake. But the reality, but when we get closer, we realize, no, that never has been a snake. We might have had all kinds of imaginations. Is that snake poisonous? Can I approach the snake? Is it a cobra? Is it a black mamba? What is that? So all these, we're trying to discriminate, trying to figure out what it is, just as we try to figure out what this world is. What is this I? But as we get closer, we realize, no, the snake never existed. Yet it was real for us at that point, at that moment. So yes, this world appears real to us, just as that snake has appeared real. But it was an illusion. We saw something that wasn't there. But snakes do exist. But it's not that we saw a rabbit with horns. That would not frighten us. Well, some that we are totally not, that cannot exist, would not have the same effect. But a snake, some that we actually are accustomed to, takes the shape of a rope. But we have now identified that, no, there's a rope behind that snake. So also, when we are clear, when we have, when we can, as our, as with our particular mind, which is steeped in worldliness, we see the world, but we don't see what's behind it. Brahman is like the substratum, just like the rope upon which we have superimposed our identity of I-ness. So we think, oh, we are important, or so forth. But when a Vedanta says, I am Brahman, no, that's not the I he's talking about. The I he's talking about would be what Swami Nikhilananda would refer to as the ripe I. We as the world, we see it with our unripe I. The ripe I is something that must be developed through spiritual discipline. It requires a keener intellect, a deeper understanding of what our true nature is. And when we do that, our true nature will be revealed to us as Brahman. But we won't be able to identify ourselves as Brahman when we say, I am Brahman, from the point of view of our ego I. Because as we purify our intellect, our minds, that ego I starts diminishing. We become less and less aware of that and more aware of that, the absolute I-ness, if you can call it that absolute identity with Brahman. So that at that point, then we have the right to say, I am Brahman. But we are not, at that point, there's no differentiation between this body and any other bodies. We see Brahman everywhere. So that all that can exist is Brahman. So this is a word that we use here to explain in the context of explanation, but that sense of I-ness ceases to exist at that point. So, but Sri Ramakrishna also reminds us that that this is not a suitable spiritual practice for most of us in this world, because we are so body conscious, we are aware of everything in this world. So to follow this path that I am Brahman, like a Vedantist, here he's actually referring to a Vedantist who has gone through all the spiritual disciplines and is becoming more and more aware that Brahman alone is real. This I, this world, is becoming less real, unreal. So it would not be a suitable path for those for people in the Kali Yuga, in this, what he would describe this age. So he says that even this I is illusory, only the Supreme Brahman exists. But the I, in quotes, cannot be got rid of. Well, that seems almost like, oh, that's hopeless. Here we are speaking all this high philosophy, but now he's saying this I, this ego I, cannot be got rid of. Therefore, it is good to have the feeling, I am the servant of God, his son, his daughter, his devotee. So if we can develop the feeling, I am the servant of God, I am a child of God, I am his devotee, that turns our ego, that sense of I-ness, around to not, I am so-and-so, I am important to that, I am now the humble child, the humble devotee. I realize I am not as great as I think I am. I can't have everything in the world. But I can have you. I can have you as my parent. I can have you as my master. I will serve you. All of that serves to reduce the strength of that ego, our ego. And by reducing that, we become more aware of, I would say, the ego of God, that I-ness of God. So the more we become aware of God. So for the Kali Yuga, the path of bhakti is especially good. one can realize God through bhakti too. So the opening question was, sir, what are the doctrines of Vedanta? Well, Sri Ramakrishna has seen that this is a worldly person. He is not qualified really to follow the doctrine of Vedanta as a philosophy. And so now he's introducing him to the fact that no, in this time, in this age, for you, the path of bhakti, God can be realized through bhakti also, as God can be realized if one follows the path of the doctrines of Vedanta, or what would be called as Jnana Yoga or Raja Yoga. So for the Kali Yuga, the path of bhakti is especially good. One can realize God through bhakti too. As long as one is conscious of the body, one is also conscious of objects. Forms, taste, smell, sound, and touch. These are the objects. It is extremely difficult to get rid of the consciousness of objects. Our senses are always active. They're always outgoing. We want to touch things. We want to smell things. We want to see things. We want to experience things. So, and we see forms everywhere. We close our eyes. We see forms. We see memories, forms from our past, forms of imagination. We see, we are identified in a world of forms. So these are all objects. Our senses try to attach to these different objects. And when it attaches to something, it wants to experience it. It might even want to own that object. It wants to bring that object close to itself. It wants to make that object part of it, only to be disappointed later that, no, it's not always as great. That initial enthusiasm wanes after we acquire the object. Oh, yeah, I get tired of this. I get tired of that, so off to Goodwill. So we're always changing. But it is extremely difficult to get rid of our consciousness of objects, and one cannot realize I am he or I am Brahmanas as long as one is aware of all these objects. So through spiritual disciplines, one's attachment to these objects wanes, diminishes. We get more attached to God, our attached to worldly objects diminishes. And if we can feel that we are the servant of God, that we do all our actions, we do them as service to God, we sublimate all our attachments to our objects toward God. This is not mine, this is not mine, this is yours, this is yours. These smells, I offer these smells to you. I offer the best smells to you. The fragrance of flowers. I don't stop and smell a beautiful flower and breathe in that fragrance and say, wow, that's so wonderful. And then you want to start smelling more flowers. You pull that flower and you want to offer it to your beloved. Well, now the smell belongs to God. The beautiful sights belong to God. You don't have to destroy a life by saying, well, I want to acquire this smell. I want to bring it to my home. So no, leave it, let it be where it is. It's an offering to God. Of course, you may be offering these in worship to God. That's one thing. But that's different than pulling a flower to acquire it for your personal benefit or to show it off. So as long as one cannot realize, and one cannot realize I am he, as long as one is aware of objects. The sannyasi is very little conscious of worldly objects, but the householder is always engrossed in them. Therefore, it is good for him to feel, I am the servant of God. this feeling of I am He, I am Brahman, that's another step. One works toward that. You don't have to acquire it right now. It's like the difference between one who has to practice a musical instrument as a student. Yes, it's a saying that every musician can play like Mozart when they're by themselves in a room. But you put them on a stage and they freeze up. They can barely play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. So that's an imagination. That's something you're hoping to become. But a real performer, a real musician will be quite comfortable on stage and be able to express music. So that's the difference between one who says, I am He or I am Brahman at this beginning stage, and one who can actually say, I am a virtuoso. A student cannot say that. So we cannot say that at this stage of our spiritual life. But we can say, I am a servant of God. I want to be a servant of God. I am a child of God. So that's where we can start. So I will, if you have any questions, you can ask. Meanwhile, I will give some announcements. Tomorrow evening, Swami Nikhilananda, who lives at our retreat, will be starting a new book on the Gospel of the Divine Mother. This will be like a discussion group and a reading done via Google Meet. You will find the link on our website. And this Friday at 7 p.m., oh, by the way, that program will be tomorrow night at 7 p.m., online only. On Friday, Swami Nikhilananda will be continuing with the class on self-knowledge, referring to the book Atma Bodha. It will be part 8 of that class. And this Saturday, here in Seattle, we will be having a Karma Yoga Day. That will be from 10 a.m. to about 1 p.m. This Sunday, we will have a Mother's Children, 10 minutes. Children should come 10 minutes before the talk, which will be at 10 a.m. The topic will be resurrection. It is a Easter Sunday, so the topic will be on the resurrection of Jesus Christ. But it is also the title actually is a recurrent motive in religion. This idea of reincarnation, rebirth, is common in other religions also. And this will be given by Swami Nikhilananda. And Sunday night at 7 p.m., we will have Ramnam here in the chapel. There don't seem to be any questions online. If we have any questions, we can ask afterwards. I will conclude with a chant. Om Niranjanam Nityam Anantarupam Bhaktanukampa Dhitavigraham Vai Ishavataram Paramesamityam Tvam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namamaha. We salute that Ramakrishna, who is without blemish, eternal and infinite in forms, who has assumed human form out of compassion for the devotees, who is God incarnate, the Supreme Lord, and who is most worshipful. Om, peace, peace, peace to all beings.